Okay, this is my 94 ED Falcon, soon to be turbo. So the car is basically completely stock mechanically, 4 litre, 4-speed automatic, BTR. The only thing it's got is pacemaker extractors, 4499 I believe. I'll correct that if it's wrong. High flow cat and 2.5 inch cat back. Pretty basic setup. Pretty small for a turbo, but it'll do for now. 19-inch rims are B-series replicas in the correct offset, no spaces or anything. Sits up like a full drive due to stock suspension and 19-inch rims. Good stuff. There's a dog. Okay, one of the trickiest bits with doing the turbo conversion is the oil return to the sump, something that I was definitely not confident trying myself. So if you can see, pretty hard to see, but that was professionally welded and there's just some black silicone around it. Currently got the front bar off for an intercooler. I'm going to do a water to air intercooler setup to avoid cutting holes. Do not want to do that. I've cut the front bar because it was already broken from hitting a wombat, and then part of the front bar come up and pierce the AC condenser here, so AC does not work anymore, so I will replace that from my parts car, which is out here. Parts car is a 93, I believe, EB Fairmont. So I'm just getting a few bits and pieces from this, a few trims that are broken in the ED, all the door trims with electric windows, and the center console with all the switches. A few other bits and pieces that I can take from this. I got this parts car for $200, so that was nice. It's just got a popped head gasket, but it was good enough to drive home very carefully, only like 40 k's or so. It has a transcooler in it, which is cool. That saves me a bit of money there. I've probably almost saved my $200 by not having to buy a transcooler. But it has plenty of other bits and pieces like the electric windows. And yeah, quick rundown on parts for the car. This is the intercooler for the water to wear intercooler. Here is the radiator for the water to wear intercooler setup. Here is the front bar, which is hacked up really roughly, but it was already broken from hitting a wombat, so I just hacked it off really dodgy while it was on the car, just because these were like completely like cut down the middle anyway, so I wasn't too fussed about that. But while it's off the car, I'm going to do what I can to try to, you know, make this a bit more symmetrical and a little less fucked up, so we'll see how that goes. Okay, here's a few more bits and pieces of the turbo setup. This is a genuine BF XR6 turbo intercooler, which I was going to use, but I don't want to cut holes. That's why I've gone for a water to air setup, because I only have to run water hoses through to the front of the car. Nice and easy, they'll fit through without cutting holes. The turbo itself is a AR70 T3. It is a cheap, generic, crappy thing, which came with a eBay turbo kit, and it will probably do an oil seal or a bearing eventually, but nonetheless, the manifold, which I will get to, is quite good. That came with the kit. It is made by a guy in Tasmania, and it is a real good. So yeah, the turbo, I don't know that much about them, truth be told. There you go. There was not a reference line from the compressor. I had to have that tapped when I had my oil return to the sump. I had that professionally welded because I was not keen to attempt that, so I had him tap the compressor housing here for the wastegate reference line, which I have this hose for, which is actually, it's actually fuel line. It is Powerflex multi-purpose 6.4mm WP 300 psi. Is basically fuel line, so that will be the reference line that I use for my wastegate. which came with the kit, is 38mm, I believe. I've probably got this all connected wrong. I'm a fucking noob at all this. Manifold. That's good for it. Manifold. Welding is quite good. Has stainless heat shield. T3 collector. Of course, it's different to this. This is split pulse, whereas this isn't. I don't know. Whatever. It didn't come with a gasket either, so I had to source that separately, which is this kind. It is the split pulse kind. But the manifold was fabricated by a guy that puts the kits together in Tasmania, and the welding is all pretty good from what I can see, but I'm no expert. It is definitely a heavy duty looking thing. Some of these welds, unfortunately, interfere when the bolts come through. The thread hits some of these welds here, so that's something that will need to be addressed, but we'll get to that when the time comes. Wastegate, I don't know much about it. 38mm, I believe. Catch can. Drift, because JDM. Boost gauge, cheap but works quite well. I've tested it on a couple of other cars. It's quite accurate and steady. Dump pipe, 3-inch V-band O2 sensor. Had to have that welded in too. Was not welded in when the kit arrived. That's the oil return hose, bolts to the turbo. That goes to the line on the sump. Pod filter, because JDM. Feed line. The kit came with a nice braided feed line with all the correct T-pieces already to go to the oil sender, which makes life a bit easier for people like me. V-band. ECU. EL ECU. J3 chip. So this is straight out of an EL Falcon. EEC5, as opposed to the EEC4, which is stock in ED. This is my fuel pump, which is used, lightly used apparently, according to eBay. Yes, I know secondhand, but whatever. It was about a third of the cost of a new one, and it is a Bosch 023. Injectors, not secondhand, brand new. Bosch 968, 42 pound injectors, times 6. Yeah, okay, so that's basically the fuel system. Bosch 023, Bosch 968, ECU is EL plus J3 chip, which I still need to install. Silicon joiners, very expensive, hard to find weird sizes. silicondirect.com.au. Highly recommended, all the weird sizes, good prices. Okay, I've just put this back together after it's finished. It's painted and clear coated, and it is full of imperfections, but whatever. Basically just made a hole for the boost gauge, get rid of the little vent things there for the climate control sensor, get rid of the little block out hole there where the trip computer normally goes. As you can see, there's some very dodgy work done here, but it gets the job done. I will go ahead and pop the boost gauge in, because that hole isn't even round, but once boost gauge is in, you can't really tell. Okay, that's with the boost gauge just slotted in there. It might come out into the sunlight a bit more. Plenty of imperfections in the paint, but you know, it's not too bad. I'll give you another look once it's in the car and illuminated, but there you go. Heaps of imperfections. Actually decided to wire the boost gauge into the illumination for some reason, so let's turn the lights on. I don't know why I did that instead of through the ignition, but it's easily changeable because I've done it just behind all the head unit here. Nice and simple.